Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I am your host, Monk, aka the Monk Magician, and in this very episode, guys, we're going to be breaking down all 14 fights happening this Saturday, July 23rd at UFC London, headlined by Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes. So, guys, before we get into it, please like the video, subscribe to the Monk Maddox channel. We are so close to hitting another milestone of 350. Push it up there before this card starts. What do you say? Really appreciate you hitting that stuff for me. It means a lot and it helps me a ton, helps the channel out a ton. Be sure also check out teamriserfall.com. If you play DFS of any kind, any sport, get over to teamriserfall.com. Use code MONK. Save yourself $10 on a subscription. Guys, you will be inundated in a good way with stats, with takes, with plays, with every kind of information, all kinds of information that you need to get those big DFS takedowns in any sport that you guys check out teamriserfall.com. Use code MONK. Save yourself $10 on a subscription. Before we get into the fight, stick around for the end of the video. We will give you CM Monk's picks as far as this card goes. Looking to have a big rebound day after the terrible week that we had last week. So guys, without further ado, let's get right into it. First fight of the night, going to be Nicholas Dalby going against Claudio Silva. I'm going to stop giving you, I think you should play both sides of this one. I'm going to take stands on this card and hopefully all cards going forward, guys. This is a big dog or pass one for me. I don't think you can possibly play Nicholas Dalby at an $8,800 price. He scores 2.34 points a minute, less than 70 when he wins. He gives up a ton, and he's also coming in $300 over his average salary. He's never put up a win over 90 points. Claudio Silva is the opposite of that, over 3 points a minute, 93.5 when he wins. He's put up, let's see, over 100 points in 2 of his 5 UFC wins and over 110 in one of them. Has a gigantic takedown and control time upside, as you can see from these numbers here. If I can find my cursor, 0.88 points a minute and takedowns, 0.56 in control time. Guys, all the stats are leading Claudio Silva. I know Dalby beat D-Rod, but he only scored 54 points in that one. Beat Cowboy Oliveira 68 points. Coming off of a loss to Tim Means, who did not look good against Kevin Holland at all. Give me Claudio Silva in this one. Here are the raw DraftKings points per minute and the projections. Whoever you think or whatever you think is going to happen, here's how Computer Monk thinks it will score. Obviously, much higher numbers for Claudio Silva, as Dalby generally does not score well per minute historically. And here are the visual statistical recaps. What's happening? What is going? Everything's so dark, and I don't know exactly. But it's all good. I might have to open up these curtains over. Lights here. Yeah, this is a long way of saying that I'll be on the Claudio Silva side. I just don't like any of the upsides I see for Albi. Keep it moving. Another fight where I see very little upside from the favorite. The Mandy Bohm going against Victoria Leonardo. I'll be on the Victoria side if I have to pick one. I mean, Mandy Bohm in her one UFC fight against Lipsky, 1.16 points a minute. What is that? 4.57 per minute is what she allowed, and this was over all 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Leonardo has 2 losses in the UFC, but they've been to decent competition. Melissa Gatto and Manon Fiorot. In the Gatto fight, she put up 34.8 points in 2 rounds, so she's got a decent pace there. Only putting up 2.19 a minute, but like I said, that 34 points in 2 rounds is pretty decent in my book. Till Mandy Bohm comes out here and shows me why she should be in the UFC, I am not going to spend much time talking about her except to tell you that you should fade her. I will definitely be fading her. If I have to pick a side, like I said, Victoria Leonardo is the side. The strength of schedule is 30 points better for Leonardo across all categories. It's not even close. I want these numbers to be in the 70s. 70 to 75 is good. Victoria is in 80 in 2 of these categories, almost 90, and high 60s, mid 70s in the rest. Mandy Bohm 50s, 37 strength of victory, just really bad numbers. Here are my projections. As you would imagine, much higher for Leonardo. Draft doesn't matter because we only have 1 fight for Bohm. Here are the aggregate pro and UFC finishing percentages. Very high in losses. 80% for Bohm. How was that? Oh no, that's professional career. Sorry. That would be yeah, 4 finished losses. It looks like. So yeah, I'll be dog or passing on this DFS for DFS. I also think if you're going to bet this, there's no way you can home side. Next fight, Jai Herbert going against Kyle Nelson. This is another one where I'm kind of on the dog here, dog or pass. Jai Herbert, while it is a great salary for salary voodoo, 9,000 is fantastic. I will probably be plugging him in a bit of my lineups. After all, he did almost finish Ilia Topuria, so before he got, I was going to say slept, but that's somehow not appropriate. He got murdered in the second round there. 2.58 points a minute is what he scored. 109 when he wins, but that's only one UFC fight. 4.5 points a minute is what Jai Herbert is giving up. Kyle Nelson does not score well, 2.21, but when he did win, 96, decent score. Gives up 4.87 points a minute and 103 when he loses. So these guys, Herbert and Nelson, giving up tons of points here. Do I think Herbert could come out here and finish Nelson? Yes. Do I think Nelson can come out here and finish Herbert? Yes, 100%. So I guess you have to play a little of both sides, but I'm going to be focusing on the dog here. $7,200 for Kyle Nelson. I think when it does win, that salary makes the optimal around 75% of the time, so it is pretty good. Nelson gives up a ton of takedown and control time points, but Herbert does not score any in those categories. Also gives up a ton, even more than Nelson does. Herbert gives up a ton. Where Nelson scores almost 0.7 points a minute on the ground. So give me the upside of Nelson here. I mean, you can play Herbert because of that salary voodoo. That's the biggest thing going for him, in my opinion. But he's only 2-3 in his last 5. In fact, both guys are, with losses to Trinaldo, Moicano, and Topuria. Meanwhile, Nelson losing CDF, Sales, and Billy Quarantillo. So some decent losses all around. We'll be looking to side with my guy Gordo's Canadian brethren, Kyle Nelson here. Here are my projections and the DraftKings visual statistical recap. Bit more real estate as you would expect from Herbert. Definitely more powerful. If he catches Nelson, Nelson's definitely going down, but we'll see if Herbert can keep up how he started his fight against Topuria. We'll see if he can keep that same kind of energy. And yeah, but salaries here, 9,000 is just a bit too much to pay for a guy who's 1-3. See. Next fight, Muhammad Mokaev. This is a guy I will be smashing in all of tons of my DFS lineups. 9,500 is the statistically best salary you can play. The best one out of all of them. Yes, it's the most expensive on most cards, but also it makes optimal in more than a 50% rate. When it wins, it makes the optimal higher than 62%, and it has an 84% win rate. So hear that with Mokaev making the optimal in his last fight, going against a newcomer, Charles Johnson, who apparently is a very tough guy, but 6,700 is the exact opposite of the $9,500 salary. It is statistically the worst salary you can play. The only person to ever make optimal on that salary was Mike Jackson. He got kicked in the dick, and I poked to make it that far. So I do not expect much from Charles. It would be totally going against everything salary voodoo is about if Johnson does well in this fight. Mokaev in his less than a minute put up 11, and these stats aren't even worth talking about. He has less than 1 minute of fight time. Just know that Mokaev did go off in the fight. I believe that was against Cody Durden. His numbers are fantastic. I have no stats from Charles Johnson, so really not missing anything. Strength of schedule does factor in each of their last 5 professional fights, in which Charles Johnson is 4-1, has a very poor strength of schedule, almost less than 60 across the board. He does have 270s in there, I should say. Meanwhile, Mokaev, no defeats in his last 5 and just barely above where Charles Johnson categories. Like I said, 126 against Cody Durden. Really quick submission there. Here are my projections and the aggregate finishing percentages in their pro and UFC careers. Very high in wins. Neither of them have ever been finished in a loss. As far as picking sides, like I said, give me Mokaev. Give me the big fade on the worst salary, and give me the big smash on the best salary. How I see. Next fight, I believe Makwan Amirkhani going against Jonathan Pearce. Man, both these guys making the optimal in recent memory. Amirkhani, though, I gotta love this salary, 7,500. You give me Amirkhani against any wrestler, and I will be putting him in some GPP lineups because that guillotine is definitely live, as we saw against Mike Grundy in his last fight. I mean, JSP probably a better wrestler than Mike Grundy here. He does score 5.39 points a minute, 118 when he wins, basically. So it would be tough to say fade Jonathan Pearce. But I'll definitely be taking stabs on the dog at 7,500 Makwan Amirkhani. I mean, that's all he has to do is just get his arm around your neck, and it's probably over. You know, he's a master of the guillotine, master of a few submissions. I know I'm talking him up a bit more than he probably deserves, but man, I like the guy. I like watching him fight. And people continue to make mistakes against him. So that's how I'll kind of be playing this one. You have to play, you know, I said I'm not going to be saying play both sides. I do love the dog stab here, but you would be a fool to ignore the stats on Jonathan Pearce. Like I said, 5.4 a minute, 118 when he wins. He scores, what is this, 3.52 points a minute in takedowns and control time. And we know DraftKings really rewards scoring from that angle. So absolutely love to see that. You have to play. I mean, this has to be close to 100% exposure in this fight. It just has to be, especially if you're playing the 150s. If you're like single entry, you know, maybe you go with McCann. I don't know for the possible leverage there, but I think this fight, you know, should probably be close to 100% in my. The strength of schedule, not very close. McCann dominates every category, well over 70, almost over 75 in all 4 categories. Has dropped 3 of his last 5, though. Barbosa, Kirk, that Kirk loss is a bad look. And then Lerone Murphy, who is undefeated, caught McCann with a knee there, flying knee. But he does have wins over Danny Hendry and Mike Grundy. Meanwhile, JSP, 3-fight win streak over Kai Kamaka. Omar Morales, very good. Then Christian Rodriguez there as well. So scoring very well in all of those. Rodriguez fight was the closest fight he's had in the UFC, and that's not really saying much. So basically, if McCann cannot get a guillotine or cannot find an early submission, you're going to wish that you put all that exposure on Jonathan Pearce. Give me a dog stab on Amirkhani, but like I said, the exposure for this fight has to be high. Cool to pass up that kind of I don't think this is a Ronnie Lawrence situation, so you'd be a fool to pass up that kind of DraftKings upside. We will keep it moving as I scroll past the rest of the stats here. Next fight, Nathaniel Wood going against Charles Rosa. Guys, this is another salary voodoo play. 9,400 is statistically the second best salary you can play. You know, not very close to the first salary. Number 95 is so far in front that it's ridiculous. 94 is second. We have Nathaniel Wood, who does score very well. He is coming off almost 2 years layoff, which is scary. Hear me out. He's fighting Charles Rosa. That's all I should have to say. 3.9 points a minute for Wood, 100 when he wins. Only allows 2.35 and 85 when he loses. Meanwhile, Charles Rosa, 6,800. I mean, that's an easy salary to get to. Tons of salary relief, but it is very bad as far as optics, win percentages, times percentage making the optimal, etc. Rosa scoring only 2.5 points a minute and 80 when he wins. I don't like any of the upside from Charles Rosa here. Meanwhile, Wood puts up over 100 in 2 of his 4 UFC wins and 1 over 110. Meanwhile, Rosa only puts up 90 in, let's see, 2 of his 5 UFC wins. Has given up over 90 in 5 of his 7 losses, over 100 in over 110, I should say, in 4 of 7 losses. So that's how I'll be looking to play this one. Give me the big upside of Nathaniel Wood. He was supposed to fight on the London card last time. I don't remember what happened off the top of my head, if it was COVID or if his opponent dropped out. No, he will be chomping at the bit to get a big win in his home country here over in London, or in England, I should say. That's London, not a country, obviously. Charles Rosa with the bit better strength of schedule, as you kind of would expect. Well, you know, double the fights that Nathaniel Wood has in the UFC. And Wood coming off of a big loss to Casey Kenny here, in which he scored pretty well, 54 points in a loss. He will definitely be looking to not only beat Charles Rosa, probably finish him here. That's how I'm going to be looking to play Nathaniel Wood for GP. I'll have a ton of him. I'll have next to none of Charles Rosa. I don't see any upside to playing Rosa unless he gets a freak win, a freak sub win here. Nathaniel Wood has been subbed twice in his professional career. 40% of his losses have been submissions, and that is where Rosa gets most of his wins. But man, this has to be a good look for Wood. He's in his home country, fighting a guy that he should beat 10 out of 10 times. I'll be heavy on the Nathaniel Wood side. Next fight, Mark Diakiese going against Damir Hadzovic. This one I like for a sleepy little play here. Diakiese at 9,100 seems like, you know, I don't know if he can pay that one off. He scored 118 in a unanimous decision against Slavaclaus. If that happens again against Hadzovic, then obviously he's paying that off. Obviously that would, maybe not obviously, but that should make optimal. But he scores 3.18 points a minute, 98 when he wins, only allows 1.91 per minute, 76 when he loses. Guys, that's over 5 UFC losses. That is a big sample size. I don't see any upside for Hadzovic that I like. He has made the optimal in his last fight against Yancy Medeiros. That was back in June of 2021, and he only scored 97 points. So lately, you've needed to get over triple digits to make optimal. I mean, if Hadzovic wins over Diakiese, his salary is such that he probably will pay it off and make optimal. He gives up 3.9 a minute and 111 when he loses, guys. I'll be on the Diakiese side big here. Not as big if he was, say, 9,000 or high 8,000s. 91 is asking a bit much, but I think he can do it here. I think he can control Hadzovic. Maybe not put up a repeat performance of 118 points, but I think it could be pretty close. And if he breaks 100 here, I'll be a happy guy. So give me Mark Diakiese riding another win over a guy that he should beat. Like I said, 8 or 9 out of 10 times. I love the upside from Diakiese here. Even in a decision, he has proven that he can score well. 92.21 when he wins by unanimous decision. So give me Mark Diakiese here and the upside therein. Next fight, Leavitt Klein going against Mason Jones. Man, this is a favorite fighter that I will not be fading. I'm really excited to see what Mason Jones can do here at 9,200. Excuse me, let me make sure I am not muted. 5.11 points a minute is what Mason Jones is putting up, and this is over 37 minutes of UFC fight time, guys. That number is incredible. 126.83 when he wins. That's obviously only one UFC win. He's only coming $400 over his average salary. He did make the optimal in the last fight, in which he was 9,500, and he put up 126.83 over David Onama. And like my guy Uncle Weezy said, that Onama win is aging better and better every time Onama gets his another win in the UFC. So I like the Mason Jones side here. I liked Leavitt Klein. He was very exciting coming into the UFC. A couple of known for his head kick knockouts, basically. But he has slowed a bit, has not made the optimal in any of his last 3 fights. 2.68 a minute, 86 when he wins, but 7,000 points is too low for Klein, in my opinion. He has a pretty good strength of schedule. Mason Jones better everywhere, which is kind of surprising. But all these guys above 70 across the board, which is rare to see when only 7 UFC fights between them. Klein losing to Tristano, that doesn't age well, and Landwehr as a minus 368 favorite. But did get that rebound win over Devontae Smith, which is a good one. He put up 69 points. That's it on a $7,700 salary. So I'll be on the Mason Jones side here. I think he gets it done. I'm very excited to see what this kid can do. I call him a kid, and Klein is only 2 months older than Mason Jones is. So give me a little bit of Klein for that huge upside. I mean, at $7,000, if he gets a win here, that's almost a guarantee. If he can get anywhere close to like 90 points, it's almost guaranteed optimal. We do have an orthodox southpaw fight on our hands here, so that could get a little more interesting. I really do like the Mason Jones side of things. 5.11 points a minute is crazy over 37 minutes. What a pace he's putting on these guys. So give me the Mason Jones side. Man, I like a lot of this upper end. Last week I did not like any of the upper end, and it proved true. I think we had 8,700 was the top, the most expensive fighter that made the optimals. This week I kind of feel the opposite. There are a lot top end guys that I think you should really be focusing on. Mason Jones, one of them. We already talked about Mokaev, and we already talked about Wood. I love those plays. Next fight. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Paul Craig, my favorite fighter, one of my favorite fighters, and definitely my favorite fighter on this card. Paul Craig going against Volkan Oezdemir. Paul Craig at $7,700 is a dream come true, guys. 7,700 is the 5th best salary you could possibly play, and that is counting 8,100. So take that one out, which never gets used. 4th best salary overall, has a better win percentage than its counterpart of 8,500. It makes the optimal at a ridiculous rate. I'm serious. Like, statistically, it is the 4th best salary overall that you can play, whether it's a dog or a favorite. It's like 9,500, 70 or 9,500. Let's see. Let's just look. Fuck it. 9,500, 9,400, 9,000, and then it's 7,700. Those are the 4 best salaries you can play, guys. Paul Craig, 2.77 points a minute, 95 when he wins. Absolutely love it. He's going to bait Volkan Oezdemir in, make him think that he's taking a beating, get him to the ground, and absolutely finish him with a submission. That's how I'm playing this one. I don't care. It's biased. Paul Craig is the shit. He's the man. Like I said, one of my absolute favorite fighters. Scores over 1 point a minute in takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Vulcan giving up almost 0.5 points a minute in those categories. Vulcan doesn't score much better than Paul Craig does for all his knockout talk. He scores 0.03 points a minute more than Craig, and less than 6 points a minute, or 6 points better per win. That's it. Paul Craig, $183 over his average. So again, constantly being undervalued. Vulcan Oezdemir, $933 over. He's almost $1,000 over his salary, guys. You cannot tell me that the upside does not lie with Paul Craig here. 6 of his 8 wins over 90, 3 of them over 100, and 2 of them over 110. What's Vulcan giving up here? He's given up 90 in 2 of his 5 losses, over 100 in 1 of them. Give me the dog play, Paul Craig. I don't care. He's getting it done again. Like I said, I'm not giving you the, oh, you have to play both sides. No, play Paul Craig. Vulcan, I got no time for Vulcan Oezdemir. That's what I got. No time for that nonsense. Paul Craig, come on, buddy. I am rooting for you. Even if this does not go my way, I still think could, maybe not score okay. Basically, it's Paul Craig sub or Vulcan probably knockout. And I just can't even envision that. I choose not to envision that in my head. So give me Paul Craig by sub. I don't care if I take shit from every single one of you next week if Paul Craig loses. I'm standing by my boy, my guy, Paul Craig. Let's go. And at $7,700, how can you not love that? And he's made the optimal in 1 out of his past 2 fights. And it must have been the Jamal Hill win, $6,800. What are you doing? $6,800 for Paul Craig. He'll just score 103, no problem. Give me Paul Craig, guys. Give him to me all day. GPP's 4th best salary in the world. Let's go. I don't care what you think. I'm on this island. I don't care. Molly Meatball McCann going against Hannah Goldy. I'll be big fading this one, guys. I said I like a lot of the fighters in the upper range this week. Molly is, I do like her as a fighter. 9,300 is going to be a bit much. That said, she has made optimal in both of her previous 2 fights. See, against Carolina and Jeon Kim. I think Molly's probably falling in love with her striking, which is either going to be very good or very bad, depending on how much damage Hannah Goldy takes. Goldy does give up 3 points a minute, only 73 when she loses those. Guys, that is the best number on the entire card. Every person on the card averaging more points than that per loss than Hannah. Goldy's also coming in $1,400 under her average salary. Meanwhile, McCann, you are paying the tax on Molly McCann in London. 925 over her average salary. But guys, she's really made improvements to her numbers in the past 2 fights. 3.44 points a minute, 97 when she wins, but she does still have the stigma of giving up a ton of points, over 100 when she loses. So this one might be a sneaky little fight to play here. If McCann wins, it could be by KO TKO, although that has never happened to Goldy. She's never been finished in her career. Obviously, only 2 professional losses, so that could easily change after this. And surprisingly, 4 of 5 wins over 90, 2 of them over 100. Meanwhile, Goldy has never given up even 90 points. McCann scoring 0.8 points a minute on takedowns and control time. I like the McCann side. I am picking her to win. I am fading this fight for GP as a whole. I don't mind McCann for cash. But I think, pay up 100 or 200 and get more salary voodoo friendly type of fighter, even down to the $9,000 salary, which we have not got to yet on this fight. Actually, I might take that back. I don't know how confident I am in the $9,000 fighter this week. McCann with a great strength of schedule. I mean, say what you want about her. She's got stats to back up what's happening here. 75% opponent win rate, 72 strength of schedule, 86 strength of defeat. These numbers are 20, almost 30 points better than Hannah Goldy in every single category. I won't say 30, at least 20. Goldy with her 1 UFC win over Emily Whitmire. Very good win in which she subbed her in the first round. Did not make the optimal. Nope, did not make the optimal. Interestingly enough, she was 7,700 and scored 97 points. Didn't make the optimal. I have to look at that lineup, and there must have been some killers on that. 2 losses before that, Diana Belbita and Miranda Granger. McCann, here are my projections. Back up, I kind of scrolled by those a little quickly. Here are the DraftKings visual statistical recap and aggregate career finishing percentages. Been pretty low there. That's another reason I do not want to target this fight for GPs. Probably not lined to finish inside the distance. So I think this one goes to a decision. McCann probably wins. But 9,300, that's going to be a bit much. Next fight, we are flying through these guys. Nikita Krylov going against Alexander Gustafsson. This one's going to be, I guess I can't say dog or pass because offensive numbers for both guys here are tremendous. Gustafsson, the big red flag though, 725 days since he fought last. By the time Saturday rolls around, it might be exactly 2 years. Where are we at here? Date on his last fight, 725. So 2 days shy of exactly 2 years. But listen to these numbers, guys. 3.17 points a minute, 105 when he wins historically in the UFC. Defense is great. 2.03 points a minute. That's the fourth best defensive pace on the entire card. He's only $7,600. Nikita Krylov coming in at 8,600, scores a ridiculous 4.1 points a minute and almost 112 when he wins. These are top 5 numbers on the card. Gives up a ton more than Gustafsson, though. 3.4 points a minute, 94 when he loses. I guess the per minute is much more than Gustafsson, but very comparable to the points given up in a loss. I mean, Krylov, when he wins by KO TKO 3 times in the UFC, 121. He wins by sub in the UFC 4 times, 106. And when he wins by decision, only happened once, put up 105. So this guy is scoring from everywhere. He's also getting scored on. I mean, in 8 wins, 100% of his 8 wins over 90, 7 of them over 100, and 3 of them over 110. But when he does lose, guys, does this 5 out of 7 losses over 90, or 2 of them over 100. Gustafsson on the other side, 9 of 10 wins over 90, 8 of 10 wins over 100, 3 of them over 110. These guys are scoring from everywhere, both of them giving up points as well. So if Gustafsson is not ready for this, I see an early finish for Krylov. And if Krylov has too much respect and is not ready for what Gus is bringing, if Gus has really been training and looking as good as he has in Instagrams or the whatevers, the clips that you've seen online, then he could really look good here at an underdog salary. So I'm serious. I hate going, oh, I should give you both sides. I'm really trying to get off of that. Me personally, I'm going dog on this one. I'm leaning Gustafsson. I love the upside here, but the DraftKings upside from Krylov should not be ignored, guys. If you're on the Krylov side, play him because he scores better than, 70, 80% of the card, according to the stats. And his losses have been, huge. Good guys. Glover, Magomed Ankalaev, and some guy named Paul Craig, the best in the world. Meanwhile, Gustafsson's last 3 have been John Jones, Anthony Smith, ton of respect, and Fabricio Verdum. I mean, 2 Hall of Famers, and then Anthony Smith is a Hall of Famer in my heart. I'm not trying to begrudge him. He is one of probably my second favorite light heavyweight, next to this man. So Anthony Smith, I love that guy. So 3 losses to good fighters, in my opinion, for Gus. Whoever wins this, I think, gets it done inside the distance. And I think they score pretty well. I mean, 100 points for either of these guys is probably going to land them on the optimal lineup. Here are my projections. Look at the round 1, round 2 finishes. Huge. 108, 107. The percent finishes in wins, 90%, almost 89% in their careers. 75% of their losses have been by way of finish. So I like this one to go inside the distance. Like I said, me personally, I'm rooting for Gus here, and I'm picking Gus. But if you're on the Krylov side, play him. 4 points a minute, 112 when he wins. Do not ignore those numbers. They are consistent. He's got 8 UFC wins, so those are very consistent. Coco, main event of the evening. We did it, guys. Paddy Pimblett going against Jordan Leavitt. I want to say Leavitt. I want to lean Leavitt. I don't know if I can, guys. Let's take a look at these stats. Leavitt for 7,300. I mean, that seems ridiculous. Like, just cheap. I know he's not like anything. He hasn't proven that he's anything wild or super special yet, but he has proven that he kind of belongs here. 3 UFC wins. I believe 2 of them are finishes. 3.38 points a minute, 94 when he wins. These are decent numbers. He's also 1275 under his average salary. So you're getting the anti-Paddy tax on Leavitt. So if you're on the Leavitt side, you got some decent numbers coming at you. He's put up over 90 just once. Actually, he's put up over 110 once. Let's see his fights here. 78 against Trey Ogden, not good. 86, Matt Sales, not good. 120. So his only good performance for DraftKings was against Matt Wyman, who doesn't have. Sorry, Matt. Don't take this personally. Who hasn't put up 100 points against Matt Wyman in the past 4 years? So I guess you have to fade Leavitt. You can't play him at this mean, 70, he's not even 10xing his salaries at that. Paddy Pimblett, tons of round one finishes, tons of DraftKings upside, has made the optimal in his last fight. Or I believe it was his last fight. No, it was his first fight against Luigi Vendramini. That's right. He scored only, I guess, 98 on his first round sub against Vargas, which he did not make the optimal. Must have been some killers on that one as well, but he was 9,300. He's $400 under that this week, 4.5 points a minute, 108 when he wins. No, I'm not a huge fan of the guy personally, but that should not, sway how I'm going to play him in DraftKings. 0.84 points a minute in takedowns control time. Meanwhile, Jordan Leavitt allowing 1.44 points per minute in those categories. Again, you have to play upside here. I mean, Paddy is very expensive, but he's only $50 over his average, and he's $500 under what he was last time. So we should be lucky for that if you're on the Paddy Pimblett side. Upside is here. 14 of 18 wins have all come by way of finish. Only been finished once in his 3 professional losses. Meanwhile, Leavitt, does have 7 of 10, 70% professional win rate or finish rate, but I'm leaning Paddy here. His strength of schedule is much better than Jordan's. Couple of graphs to look at here are my projections. Yeah, unless Jordan somehow gets it done in the first round, he's being out projected by Pimblett everywhere. If Pimblett loses in the first round, I'd be pretty surprised, to be honest. Like I spent the past 2 fights, like, for lack of a better word, hating on the guy, and he's turning me. Like I said, you don't have to like his personality, which strangely is also kind of growing on me. Like the less weird Ian Gary dancing that he does, the better that is, as far as how I see you. Not that he cares about how I see him, but I am turning the corner on him here, and I like the DraftKings upside. So give me Paddy Pimblett, 8,900, and I don't know how I could play Jordan Leavitt, man. At first I was on him, but even 7,300 seems like a lot when he's scoring 50 some points again, or 78 points against Trey Ogden. Didn't even 10x his underdog salary there. Barely 10x against Matt Sales. And then had that big slam knockout over Wyman for actually did optimal. So give me Paddy Pimblett. The upside there is just too good. Co-main event of the evening, guys. A fight that's going well under the radar somehow. Jack Hermansson going against Chris Curtis. Honestly, I've been waiting for a spot to fade Chris Curtis, and I want to pick Hermansson. I just don't know if this is the time, man. I think this one goes to decision more often than it doesn't. $8,000 for Hermansson. If you're on the Hermansson side, you're getting him at a dog price to a guy with 3 UFC fights. You jump on that. 3.34 points a minute. That's top 10. 106.5 when he wins for Hermansson. This is over 9 UFC fights. Jump on that. His defensive pace is also top 10, allowing only 2.4 points a minute. And he's almost $500 under his average salary with a value of 9.3. Chris Curtis, though, you know what he can do. Most of his big points have come in his first 2 fights. He put up only 78 against Adolfo Vieira, went to a unanimous decision. 106 against Allen, and Phil Hawes with his UFC debut, 108.69 against Hawes. I don't know if that warrants Curtis as a favorite here. I just don't. 8,200. 3.9 points a minute is very juicy. 97 when he wins is just almost as juicy. 867 is what his average, or he's over his average salary by $867, I should say. The best average value on the card by far. 13.34 average value. If you think this is the time to fade Chris Curtis, then double down on that. Now is the time. $8,000 Jack Hermansson. You jump on it. I really think, depends on what Hermansson we're going to get here. I mean, 7 of 9 wins over 90, 5 of them over 110. This is huge scoring upside. Now, a lot of those probably happened earlier on in his UFC career. In fact, he is 2-3 in his last 5 with losses to Sean Strickland. He did score 55 in that one, split decision, not terrible. Unanimous decision loss to Marvin Vettori, in which he scored 63. And got TKO'd by Jared Cannonier, did not score well. Now, those first 2 fights I mentioned were 5 rounds. This one is just 3 rounds. But he did beat Shabazian, 10x his salary, 97. Beat Gastelum last time he was at 8,000, 10x his salary, or 11x his salary for 90 points. Man, I want to see Hermansson win. I'm not trying to hate on Chris Curtis. In fact, the guy's been nothing but impressive. But this has to end at some point. It all has to end. Name that movie. I probably misquoted it. So I'll just tell you, it's Godfather. What does she say? Michael, this all has to end. Such a bad impression, but I don't care. Jack Hermansson, give me the Jack side, $8,000. salaries are such where you can pick either one. Um, so if you think this is the time to fade Curtis, jump on Hermansson because he could score very well. The DraftKings upside is there. You're on the Chris Curtis side, just ride it out. $8,200, and you're getting almost 4 points a minute against a guy who has been finished 3 times in the UFC. 3 out of his 5 losses have been finishes, guys. 2 of them have been KO TKOs, and one of those in his, I was going to say his last fight, but that's not true. The last one was back in against Cannonier way back in 2019. So man, this one's going to be exciting, but you cannot just stand and bang with Chris Curtis. So I will be interested in seeing the game plan of Jack Hermansson. Does score almost a point per minute in takedowns and control time. Maybe you shouldn't be gassing out as quickly as Rodolfo Vieira, so that could be an entry here. But yeah, no matter what side you like, I like that side as well. Personally, I'll be pulling for Jack Hermansson. I want to see him get back in that W, and I just like to see him smiling after a win. He's got a crazy smile. Guys, before we get into the last fight of the card, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell as well so you'll never miss any crucial DFS information coming to you before each and every fight week. Also, be sure to check out the MMA Engine. Me, Wheezy, Brady, and Lou coming at you daily with pertinent information before each and every UFC card. So get over there and check that out. Also, check out Salary Voodoo. It should be on the MMA Engine. By the time you're watching this, it should also be uploaded. And only a few more minutes, guys. CM Monk's picks. We're going to get into them. I will not forget. Let's see. Main event of the evening. What a banger. Curtis Blaydes going against Tom Aspinall. I'm not going to beat around the bush, guys. I'm not going to say I'm on an island because I'm with some people, but I think majority of the people are questioning why this line isn't flipped, why Tom Aspinall is the favorite. And I'm here to tell you, I'm on the Aspinall side heavy. $8,300 for Tom Aspinall. I mean, 640 under his average salary. This guy scores 6.38 points per minute in his fights, 109.8 when he wins, and he gives up 1.11 points a minute. That's it. 1.11. You're getting him for $700 cheaper than his average salary. This man has made the optimal lineup in 2 of his past 3 fights. That would be Alexander Volkov, and that would be Sergey Spivak. I mean, Curtis Blaydes is a handful, and if he touches you, you are probably going down. But he went to unanimous decision with Jairzinho Rosenstrike, scored 85 points. Went to unanimous with Volkov. Okay, this is not the best. He scored 14 takedowns on that one, so I'm just going to skip that because he did score 172 points in that fight. My goodness. And then when he beat Junior Dos Santos, second round KO TKO, only 81. So this Volkov fight, if you take this fight out, and I hate when people say that because why would you take it out? It happened. It's a thing that happened. But man, if it did happen to be taken out, his upside would be way down. 5 points a minute, 110.85 when he wins. These are great numbers. Lower than Tom Aspinall's for the most part. Like I said, if that Volkov fight didn't happen, these numbers would be much lower. But it did happen, and they're not lower. So what are you going to do about it? And he only gives up 1.3 points a minute. Curtis Blaydes also $1,000 under his average salary. Guys, this is a heavyweight 5-round banger, and both gentlemen are well under their average salaries. How often does that happen? No matter what side you're on, you have to play it. Just smash it. If you want to play 100% of this one, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not going to tell you to do that because, like I said a few times in the show, I'm sick of saying, oh, you got to be on both sides of this one. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm giving you reads. I'm giving you sides that I'm passionate about, that the stats tell me to play. And I'm playing Tom Aspinall. If you are playing both sides, I will be much higher on Aspinall, man, until he shows me why I shouldn't be. He's absolutely wrecking everyone he comes across. 5 UFC fights, and he hasn't even fought for 15 minutes in the UFC. It is absolutely insane. And that could be a detriment. It could be, Blaydes with the more experience. That could definitely pay off. However, look at this. Blaydes' Chindex is higher than his power index. You never want to see that. The power you want to be not 0. The Chindex you want to be. So Blaydes has been knocked down before. We could be seeing a submission win from Aspinall after he put it on Volkov. So I'm going to be on the Aspinall side here. The stats, DraftKings upside points to Aspinall. The strength of schedule definitely goes to Curtis Blaydes. That should not be surprising. He's only dropped 1 fight in his past 5, and that was to Derek Lewis. I mean, both guys smashed Volkov pretty easily. Curtis Blaydes did it with takedowns. and Aspinall did it with a quick submission. A lot of people did not see him coming. Straight arm lock, straight arm bar, it looked like. Blaydes, his graph not even touching his opponent. And Aspinall's is so ridiculous that it doesn't even look like his opponents are even on the graph. So, I mean, two offensive juggernauts here, guys. So you have to play a side. You can play both. That's fine. But you have to play a side of this one. Me personally, I'll be on the Aspinall side. I mean, look at these projections. They're insane. Indecisions, almost 120 for Aspinall. Here's the visual statistical recap. I mean, just ridiculous. This one, I don't see how this one goes to the judges. If the judges are needed here, I mean, I don't know. These guys are going to be exhausted. Give me Tom Aspinall at home. He's the one that's made the optimal in his last, or 2 out of his last 3 fights. Meanwhile, Blaydes has not made the optimal in any of his past 3. That is gonna do it, guys. We did it. Got through all 14 fights in very quick fashion. I'm loving this. Let's get right into CM Monk's picks. Last week was a bloodbath. If you watch the recap show, CM Monk's worst week of picks ever. His first losing week in 4 months, but his worst overall week ever since we've been doing this the beginning of 2022. Here are his picks for this week. Mason Jones by decision, Claudio Silva decision, Victoria Leonardo decision, love it. Jai Herbert by finish, Muhammad Mokaev decision, excuse me, Jonathan Pearce by finish, Nathaniel Wood decision, Mark Diakiese decision. I don't even want to read this one. Computer Monk, you're now dead to me. You guys can read it for yourselves. I'm not going to speak this into. We all know how I'm leaning. Okay, it's Paul Craig fight week. That's how I'm doing it. I don't care about CM Monk's. Molly McCann by decision. You thought I was joking? I'm not reading that shit. Molly McCann by decision. Alexander Gustafsson by finish. Patty Pimblett decision. Chris Curtis finish. Interesting. Tom Aspinall by finish, guys. These are CM Monk's picks. I don't know. I haven't put in any bets for him yet, but stay tuned on Twitter for that one. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I really don't think I am, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. One more time, hit that like on this video, hit that subscribe if you are still here. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the picks. I hope you enjoyed the stats. Please leave a comment down below if you want to see a new stat, or if you're like, what are you doing talking about that one? It's meaningless. Or if you just want to tell me how awesome my beard is. It's fairly far from awesome, to especially since I haven't shaved my head or face in about 2 weeks. So anyways, guys, enjoy UFC London. It's Paul Craig fight week. Let's go, baby. And we actually want all of you to enjoy the fights, especially the Paul Craig fight. So enjoy, and we will see you next time.